Imagine this. You arrive at work on Monday morning, ready for a productive week. But the moment you switch on your system, everything is running very, very slowly. Emails won't load. Critical apps keep crashing. Your team can't work. Your customers can't access services. And all because someone thought, hey, I'll just install this handy little tool that I found online. One tiny little click, one innocent intention, and boom, your business grinds to a halt. Sound unlikely? It happens. That's why today we're diving into one of the most deceptively simple but critically important ISO 27001 controls. It's Annex A 8.19, installation of software on operational systems. At the heart of information security, remember that there are the principles of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And this control is all about safeguarding one of the biggest threats to your principles, or these principles, and that's the uncontrolled software installation. So what does the standard say? Well, the standard simply states that procedures and measures shall be implemented to securely manage software installation on operational systems. Note the use of the phrase procedures and measures, indicating that there will be a mix of procedures that you need to follow and either operational or technical measures to manage software installation. You see, if you don't have controls in place to manage the installation of software on operational systems, then you run the risk of people installing software which is uncontrolled and even unlicensed. In technical terms, we call this shadow IT, applications that are not managed, supported, or controlled by IT. So let me show you how this control can manifest itself by giving you 3 scenarios that happen more often than you think. How about a member of staff who downloads a free PDF converter to help a client? What they don't know is that it includes hidden malware. And because they are able to download it, install it, and run it, it works like a charm, but it works like a charm for the hackers. When they download it and install it, suddenly it's not working as they expected. It's not what they thought it was going to be. And within hours, the attacker has access to internal systems, customer data, and email accounts, all because of one unapproved installation. This attack, by the way that this works, it's often referred to as a Trojan attack. Just like in the story of Troy, the Trojan horse, that they accepted as a gift, a free gift into their kingdom, but inside it were the attackers. And that's exactly what happens in this kind of scenario. We see it all too often. It's been an attack vector, a way for attackers to gain access into networks for many, many, many years, just pretending to be one thing. And because the systems are uncontrolled and people can download and install them, it can then lead to this form of attack working. How about the license nightmare that we often see? We conducted a software audit on a law firm, and we found that their shadow IT was far bigger than their actual IT requirements. Uncontrolled software downloads and software that breached license terms and unsupported systems, of course, left them at multiple levels and different kinds of risk. Everything from hackers, yes, just in the previous example, but this was a law firm, and using unlicensed software, of course, could lead to fines, legal action, reputational damage, and it was all completely avoidable. Or how about the user who installs a performance tool to speed up their laptop, but it conflicts with core systems or other systems that the firm actually used? And over weeks, the system gradually slows and causes more and more glitches and issues until one day it fails entirely. It corrupts data, it corrupts their machine, leading to delays in client engagements, leading to clients being furious, being angry, lost clientele, lost revenue, and it was all controlled or caused by uncontrolled installation that was quietly degrading the environment and the systems. Again, all completely avoidable had this control been in place. So, why does this control exist? Well, I've just given you some examples here, but just remember that I said what I said earlier about the core principles of information security. It's about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And having uncontrolled software on your networks and on your systems can lead to anything from disruption of systems, the creation of security weaknesses, breaching license agreements, the introduction of malware, or undermine availability. So anything of that nature will obviously have an impact upon the core values and principal purposes of information security. So any of those things can have an impact upon confidentiality, integrity, and availability. You see, this could be a sudden incident or a slow burning crisis that goes unnoticed until it's just too late. So what will the auditor be looking for in this particular control? Well, when the auditor arrives, they will expect to see security measures, both operational and technical, that might include anything from or everything from register of software that's being used, so informational asset registers. You might have this documented on your records of processing activities as well. You might extend that to include this kind of information. They'll expect to see access rights that have been allocated. So again, who can install software on systems. They'll expect to see that there are some controls around the use of admin rights on systems. They might want to look for evidence of who can use SIEM technology, for instance, your security incidents and events, monitoring tools, patch management, backup processes, that kind of thing. But fundamentally, they want to see that you've thought this through and that you've identified any key issues, any key risks, and that these are logged on your risk register. Of course, they'll want to see evidence that you've discussed this at your management reviews as well. And that what they're principally looking for is evidence that you are controlling software installation, not just hoping people follow the rules. So you will also need to be able to demonstrate that you are giving training and awareness around this. And dare I say it, with the greatest of respect, I would suggest that you need to make sure that there is a documented procedure in place that you can train people in the IT function. Because, and when I say IT function, I'm talking about software developers as well here, because typically they're the ones who are going to need to find solutions to very technical problems. And maybe if they're not trained appropriately on your processes, they may be inclined to go out to the forums and say, look, I have this particular coding issue, I have this particular technical issue, what can I do? And that's where people will say, well, if you just go and download this piece of software, or you go and download this piece of information over here, you'll be able to debug your code, or you'll be able to do such and such. So you need to make sure that there are some very clear rules and regulations and compliance controls around the installation of software, not just for what are typically called end users, but we're talking about every single level of the organization. So just think that through very carefully. So there you go. What do you need to do? Well, as ever, as I keep saying, we're in the technical controls, so you need to go and speak to your IT team. Ask whether software installation is controlled on devices and networks. In smaller businesses, it's common to find users with default admin access. And if that's the case, you must revisit your access control policy. Remember, we discussed that under Annex A 515, where we talked about access controls, and 518, where we talk about access rights. And just apply compensating controls such as additional training, procedures, change control procedures, that kind of thing. Step 2, ensure that installation of software is only carried out by suitably qualified individuals. And typically that's IT staff. But again, I refer back to what I said earlier, with the greatest of respect to our IT colleagues. They are under immense pressure to find solutions, and they may, in that haste to find a solution, may go out and do something that is counterproductive to your environment. So make sure that they're doing so in line with agreed protocols and procedures and such. What those procedures are determined only by you. The auditor, going back to what the auditor will be looking for, they'll just be looking for evidence that you've thought this through. Step 3, you need to review the controls I mentioned earlier, Annex A 515, access controls, 518, access rights. Go and look at the previous video to this one, actually, which is the Annex A 8.18, which is the use of privileged utility programs. Just to make sure that the users aren't installing privileged tools as well, or that this particular control doesn't conflict with what you're saying is in place for that particular control. And finally, I would suggest that you need to go and review your change management process. Software installation should only be allowed by authorized individuals. And I keep coming with that word, authorized individuals. Only you can determine who is authorized to do it, but you need to have that very deliberate conversation. And what that process looks like is down to you to determine. How do you assess the need for that particular software? Once you've determined what the need is, where are you installing it? Are you testing it on 1 or 2 machines? Are you just rolling it out across 100 devices? What are you doing? And how do you monitor to make sure installation has occurred in the right way? So just with this particular control, remember, as ever, it's about a layered approach. Software installation is something that should be managed. It should be controlled. Software installation isn't just convenience, it's access, it's control, it's a potential chaos. Every piece of software you allow into your environment, well, it's like opening a door. You must know who opened it, why, and what it allows in. So control installations, protect your systems, safeguard your business, because integrity and availability can lead to a breach of confidentiality of your operations, of your systems and your data. And to repeat myself, they are at the core of what information security is all about. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that has been helpful. I'm Gary from Consultants Like Us, and we try and simplify these technical controls so that you can implement them easily and understand them better within your organization. It's all about compliance without complexity for us. If you're struggling with this particular control, please do get in touch. We'll be happy to have a further conversation with you. But don't forget to like, comment, share. Would love to be able to share this more. So please do go and share this with your friends and colleagues and anyone who you think might find this helpful. But thank you very much for watching, and until next time, stay well, stay safe, and stay connected. All the very best. Bye.